Beautiful buckets of flowers back there. And we're gonna talk about just why I love soul blocking. And oh, we're live. Hey, flower friends. Welcome to the Wednesday night shopping show. And tonight we are talking Snapdragons. Now, these are not Snapdragons. Snapdragons actually were just planted today. This is a tray of 1 of 9 Rudbeckias that we started last week. These are black-eyed Susans, and this one is Maya, and she's 7 days old, y'all. Look at that. She has been under the grow lights now for just a couple of days, and she is coming along beautifully. 100 soil blocks on this little tray. Pretty amazing. And I just can't wait for us to talk about Snapdragons tonight. So let me put this into a safe place. So flower friends, if we have never met before, my name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, and coming to you for a second time today. I don't know if you had the notifications on inside your app to catch the show that we did mid-morning this morning. Y'all, live from the garden. It was the first time ever, and it was so much fun. And you have to go into the app after the show and have a look-see. It was so great to be able to share that experience. Even though we had just come off of rain, we did it anyway. We absolutely loved doing it. It was my sis and I with Susie in here. We had so many beneficial insects, beautiful flowers, even cut a few. And I just want to make a note right now that we only can really do in the garden shows as a pop-up, meaning not scheduled, because a lot of things have to play right. The weather can't be raining, the sun in the right place for the right garden that we're going to be in. So the only way you'll know if you want to actually attend the live is to turn the notifications on. So do that and check that out from this morning. We just had so much fun. So tonight's show is going to be really about the very first flower I ever started from seed. Can y'all believe that? So if we haven't met before, I am the owner of the Gardener's Workshop, which is thegardenersworkshop.com. And I was a professional flower farmer for over 25 years. And now I am on a mission to help other people, empower them to grow cut flowers, whether it's for profit or for pleasure. And so I demonstrate and show you and share with you the things that I use, the same tools, seeds, supplies, and of course we provide all kinds of resources. And today's show is about my love for Snapdragons, and we'll talk about that. And we'll look at the different Snapdragons that I'll be starting or that were started and how I start them. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about the production of the big calendar journal and what's all happening with that. And then at the end, we'll do a little live Q&A and wrap it up with that. And so if you have a question that pops up, just post it in the comments with an @Lisa at the beginning, and that'll let me know that you want me to answer that question, right? So before we start, we just absolutely love it when you guys share this show with your friends, and you can do that down here on the bottom in the app. There's a little share button down there, and to let people know, we have so many new people joining us all the time, and we know it's because you guys spread the word, and we thank you so much for that. Now, when you're placing an order, please double check your emails and make sure it is valid. We can't ship to you if the shipping company won't take. UPS won't take the order unless we have a valid email address. So please double check that and check your phone number. Remember that here in the app only, seed packet only orders ship for free. So that means if you order only seed packets, we pay the shipping, and we love doing that for you. And they're for product shipping, it's $11.95, and that is only charged once. So if you buy 10 products, you only pay $11.95 once. And we do ship to all 50 of the United States with no international shipping available. Now, I just showed you, this is what the app looks like. And the app is free, and the experience of interacting with the show and being more of a part of the show and watching is so much better, y'all. So if you want to get the app, if you just happen to have stumbled upon us on social media, you can jump over to your app store and search Gardener's Workshop. We have two apps, the Learn app and the Shop app. It's the Shop app that I'm in right now. You can download it, takes about 30 seconds, it's free, and you can jump right back over here and we'll be right here waiting for you. It just elevates. You can comment, you can ask questions in the comments. On Fridays, we do a giveaway, but you have to be in the app because we can't see you if you are on social. So you have to be in our app for us to see you in the comments for you to be able to participate. So friends, I also want to say that we frequently sell out of products or seeds that I'm talking about in the live show. If you go to a product and it says out of stock, then right below it, it'll say get notified. You can do that because frequently the team may be bringing over stock from the big website to the phone app. Y'all, the two stores do not talk to each other at all. They're not friends, unfortunately. And so we may have more stock coming, and that's how you'll actually know that. And then lastly, friends, if you see people posting the sunflower emoji, that is part of our logo. And those are folks that are giving us a big old shout out as the TGW family because they're either online students or they're a member of my private Flower Farmer Club. And I absolutely love when y'all do that. So I want to talk first this evening about the Big Calendar Journal. It's actually a cut flower, seed starting, and planting guide. So it's the big calendar that I have written about. It's in all of my books. It's in my courses. I talk about it all the time. I've posted videos through the years of me how I do this, and it's actually like the brain of my farm. That's what I've actually always called it, was the brain. And so we are just so pleased to be able to produce it this year. So beyond just being a calendar, the big calendar, and now this is, oh, it's gone. I did have a sample here. I wonder where it got to. It's over there. It's pretty big, y'all. It's 20 inches by 30 inches. In addition to having just being a calendar for you to actually make the plan, because each box, each day of the week on each month is like 2 inches by 4 inches. That's the key piece. So you can write actual notes that are legible and readable for now and for in the future. But it's coming with my complete step-by-step guide of how to fill it out for your garden. Because I hear from so many people frequently, it's like, yeah, but I live up north or I live somewhere else from you. All of my teachings do not teach you when I plant. I teach you the equation to figure out when you plant in your garden. I mean, it's like, I'm not giving you fish, y'all. I'm teaching you how to fish, right? And this calendar is what is behind all of that. So it's a 12-month calendar, and it's undated. That means that it's got the months, but you're going to fill in the dates. That way, let's just say you buy it and you don't fill it out, and then something happens that you don't farm next year, a family tragedy or something. It happens all the time. We all know. You take care of a parent. You could use it for the next year because you fill that part out. And it's extra large, as I just mentioned, and once you fill it out, it's literally what guides us on our garden. Do you think that I remember all this stuff? I can tell you that after 27 years of being a commercial flower farmer and starting tens of thousands of seeds every single year and then planting them all, I still don't remember. We still have to you might remember, but it might be 4 weeks late, which is key in seed starting, right? And planting. So this is how, that we have done that. And here's the most fascinating, wonderful part for me is that when you use your calendar, kind of following my guide, it becomes your garden journal. That's easy to refer back to because of the way that we write on it. Or you can write on it any way you want, but I put all my suggestions in the guide and then some additional tips of where, so you can look at it back at a glance. And it's pretty amazing. Now, you want to get on the wait list, and you want to do that because you want to be notified when the pre-sale opens, and that'll be for the public October 1st. If you are a club member or a student of our online courses, you'll get a 2-day head start on the pre-sale, and this is why it's so important. For the pre-sale, we are offering a special bonus, and it's going to be an invitation to a workshop for us to together go through the steps of marking this calendar up. We're not going to make your individual seed listings, but we're going to mark your we're going to walk through all the succession. There's 8 succession window opportunities on this calendar, and you figure out which ones apply to you and then where they actually go. So it just makes starting cool flowers, like when we're not thinking about cool flowers, like for instance, did you know to start cut flower kale in the middle of the summer? Bet you didn't. Mine's this tall. It's gorgeous. It's going to bloom this fall. I'd have never started it if it hadn't been on the blame calendar, y'all. So get on the wait list, and that means you'll get an email as soon as the pre-sale opens, and then it will ship in November, probably late November, and it's just going to be great, y'all. And I didn't even bring the calendar. Let me bring it up. I'm still stuck on the, there it is, y'all. So I'll leave it up for just a minute. So if you hit that white box, that will, and say, put me on the list, get on the wait list or get notified, that is putting you on the actual wait list. And I will tell you that it changed everything for me. And I am thrilled about how powerful this resource is going to be. And it just gets better year after year. Each year, you bring out last year's calendar to look to plan the next year. And when you get multiple calendars, I found the video today of me. I think I have 12 calendars lined up, because sometimes you start stuff. Let's just say you're a new gardener, new flower farmer. You'll start some stuff. It doesn't do good. It's operator error. We know that now, right? I mean, I do, for me. And you just don't grow it again. And then it's like 5 years later, and you're looking back at your calendars, and it's like, oh yeah, why don't I grow that anymore? You know, and you try it, and it's like you're a better gardener and farmer now, and it's great. That's why I love this calendar. So friends, there is the wait list to get on. Now I want to talk about Snapdragons. And so I did say I would just wanted to add that Snapdragons literally are the first seed I started, the first flower that I started from seed. So I have a special relationship with Snapdragons because I started with soil blocking, and I had bought previously the bunches of little kits, you know, down at the local nurseries and stuff, and tried to start different seeds, and I was dismal failure. Then I found soil blocking. Snapdragons were what I had been, because it was in August, y'all. I learned that I could plant them in the fall where I was. I didn't know of any other flower really at that point. And so I started snaps, and I was an overnight seed starting success, y'all. And it was not because I knew anything. It was just the environment. So I love snaps, and so we're going to look through the ones that I love to grow. But first, let's look at some of the questions that we get all the time. So Snapdragons are numbered groups. That means a lot of times, it depends on what catalog you're looking at. There might be a number following the variety to say 1, 2, 3, or 4. So what are those? The numbers of the groups indicate when the variety will bloom, and that is really based on day length and also even heat. The higher the number, the later it blooms. If that's easier, like group 4 is the last to bloom in early to mid-summer, right? So groups 1 and 2 bloom the earliest, and then groups 3 and 4 bloom later, right? And so you definitely, if snaps are winter hardy in your winter hardiness zone, you definitely want to plant them in the fall. The benefits are taller stems, more disease resistance. It's pretty dadgum amazing. But if they aren't winter hardy in your zone, then you would plant in very early spring, right? So let's just take a look at some of these. And I do not know all the groups memorized, but I do know that the first one I'm going to show you, which is Chantilly, is group 1. This is the earliest Snapdragon to bloom in my garden. Don't know if you guys can tell. This has an open-faced bloom, meaning it doesn't have the little chin, and the colors are unique to this series. And I often get this guy blooming in my garden out in the field when it's fall planted, late March, early April. I never get them netted on time because they're so early. So that is Chantilly. Now, I'm thinking here that maybe Susie put the groups. Nope. Here we go. Here's the one I want. She did put them in order. So this Madam Butterfly is a Snapdragon that has a double bloom. So it looks like a regular snap, but it has a ruffle in the middle. And we sell the mix, but we also sell a couple of the solid colors because we use them so much. They're so beautiful. This is Madam Butterfly Ivory. This is such a beautiful flower, y'all. Look at the ruffle in the middle. It is just really, really beautiful. And then here is the Madam Butterfly Mix, which has all the colors. And so I would say to you, if you're just starting out with snaps, grow the mixes first, meet the colors, and then next season you can grow individuals. But look at these ruffles, y'all. They are just beautiful. Madam Butterfly is just as vigorous for us. We love it. And then look at this. Here's another one. I think they call this one, we'll have to see what the name pops up. I believe, oh, here it is. This is Bronze White. And so this is a bronzy color with like a white throat. It is really a popular color. Really love it. And you can see just all the ruffles. It just sets itself apart from being like other Snapdragons, right? And then here is my favorite color in the Madam Butterfly as a color, not the white ivory, but this is Rose. And Rose is a beauty. I love growing this one, y'all. It is just such, I don't know color language, but it's like a deep color. You know what I mean? It's like it's saturated or something. It's just so really, really pretty. Now, this is the first snap that I ever grew, and we still grow it. It is an old heirloom, and this is Rocket Snaps. I think he's in group 3 or 4. It's one of the later bloomers. But this is the classic Snapdragon. You can see the colors. And it's the classic little bloom with the little chin. Hardy, sometimes we get these over 40 inches in our garden when they're fall planted. They're pretty dadgum amazing and productive. So that is Rocket. And then next, and I believe that this is a group 4 too, which means it's a late bloomer. And y'all, I'm going to simplify. You don't have to worry about what. So when do I start it? I'm going to tell you that in a minute here. Look at Potomac. Potomac is very similar to Rocket, a little bit more voluptuous, and it has some colors that Rocket doesn't have. And Potomac is more heat tolerant than some of them. And so that is the Potomac mix. And here is another really beautiful. I will say that Opus is the snap that has the sturdiest stem of any snap I've ever grown. And look at that fresh white. It's got like a green throat. Florists love this one. And it's really fantastic in bouquet. So that is Opus White. And then, this is one of our favorites here. This is Apple. This is still Opus. This is Apple Blossom. And I remember this year, see how short they are? They're super tall. These did not get netted, which is kind of a reoccurring problem with me these days. and they fell over, but they bent and grew up. And these are like the top quarter of the stems in this little container. And they're so pretty, y'all. They're really, really pretty. And then, you know, yellow is a color that just pops everything up. It's just a universal, easy to use. And again, Opus, I'm not sure what group Opus is, but I wonder. I'm just looking. That says Opus 3 right there. I'm not sure if that's indicating the actual group, but look at Opus Mix. This is where I would start if I was you. Look at the colors. There's lots of bicolors in the mix. Look at this two-tone. There's an orange, yellow. There's the apple blossom. Opus is just really an interesting mix. And if you sell at farmers markets, people are just intrigued, right? You just don't see those as much. It'll really set them apart. So that is Opus Mix. And then this is always a popular color. What do they call it? Early bronze. You know, that bronzy color with the yellow and orange throat can just really lend itself to really pretty bouquet mixes. Now, we made 4 custom mixes of Snapdragons, and it was a result of 1 year because I've always grown more snaps than I should, and I'm sure it's because of how we started, right, together. And so I had an order from a florist that needed all pink. It was a special off day, and I had to go out in the garden and any color of pink, but it needed to all be pinks. And I literally had like 4, like 80-foot beds of all Snapdragons, of all these different varieties and colors. And so I walked around the garden and harvested all of the pink snaps that were ready in the garden. And y'all, I got actually like 3 buckets. When I brought those buckets in, they were so blooming beautiful. I mean, it had light and dark and chantillies and Madame Butterflies and had all these different varieties and shades. And that spurred me to start we call them the Dragons. And they are a mix of all the snap varieties you just saw in different shades. So the first one, oh, I hit the wrong button. The first one is Sunset, and that's like the bronzy colors. And it has, again, I'm saying all the different varieties. It has chantillies and Madame Butterflies, rockets, all of them. Opus in there, and all the different shades that are related to the sunset color. So that one's really fun. And then this one is the white Dragons. Now, why would somebody want to plant this? If you are a home gardener or a small grower and you only want to plant, you want snaps for as early and as long as you can go, right? When you start the Dragons, you get all the groups in one pack of seeds in one shade. And you can start them and then they just go longer. You don't have to start a bunch of different varieties, right? So this is the white. And, that is just always, we've always say in the spring you can never have enough white flowers. And then we made a yellow mix. And this one, I can remember this flower, y'all. This is an Opus right here. That was just the honkinest stem and flower. I don't know if you can just tell by looking at it. It's just, I think that Opus's blooms are closer together also. So it just really makes them honkin'. I just really, really love them. So there's the yellow, and then here's the pink. And the pinks really have, shoot, y'all, wait a minute, I'm bringing it. Too many buttons. There's the pink. So look at all the array of colors. And there is Madame Butterfly, and there's some chantilly. All the varieties are in there. And so that's just a really simple way if you're just interested in having certain colors. And for me, because we made bouquets and we sold to florists, that was a perfect fix for us because we didn't have to have different plantings all over the place. It could all be in one. So let's see what I'm supposed to do next here. I've learned I just really have to follow. Susie produces the show, and she's always dead on, so I have to really kind of follow. So how do I start them? Now, Snapdragons, some folks struggle with. I think it's because it's a tiny seed, and also it's surface sown, which makes it kind of dicey. But I found that soil blocking really resolved that for me, right? And I think I might need, let me show you the kit first, because I'll forget otherwise. So I'm going to show you what I started with, and then I'm going to show you how I do it. So this is the Seed Soil Block Maker Kit. And this comes with the small soil blocker, right? And it makes, where's my samples? That tool, there's 5 of those. This is 100 Rudbeckias on here. That tool makes a set of 20 of those. Now, it comes with the small blocker. Then it comes with 5 of these large trays, which actually hold 3 sets of 20. It comes with key for Snapdragons, y'all. The aluminum seed pan that has no static electricity, and our little toothpick dispenser, because we use a toothpick, little saliva on the toothpick with our tiny little seeds in this static-free pan. It makes sowing seeds so quick and easy, y'all. And so that comes with it. It also includes my seed starting made easy online course that you have lifetime unlimited access to. That means you can go back in and watch it whenever, as much as you want. And so that comes with it. And then also it comes with 3 packs of seeds of your choice, either 3 warm season seeds, bestsellers, or 3 cool, is that right side up? Yep. 3 cool season seeds, and there's the Rocket Snaps, Feverfew, and Rudbeckia Black Indian Summer. So you make that selection at checkout, and it also comes with a bag of our ready-made mix. This is a 6-quart bag, and this bag will make like 600 of those blocks. So you get all of this stuff for $89.95, y'all, and plus shipping. All you add each year is seeds and soil. We use the foam reusable trays over and over and over again. So that is not a disposable item. So let me bring my tray over. And I'm now thinking I should have brought, now I gotta move all my, y'all know I'm always rearranging all my stuff. See, if I push too hard, stuff falls off the other side, and then we're done. So I am gonna grab some water, and I wonder if we have, and of course there's no water in it. Hang on, y'all, I'm coming. All right. So this is a little dry. I haven't used it in a couple of days. So I'm going to fix this so you can actually see and watch me here. So when I initially mix my soil with water, it's 3 parts of mix. And we actually have an 8-cup measuring cup. We have a wet cup and a dry cup. I put 3 scoops of that size measuring cup of blocking mix in here, and then I put 1 of those. But now this has already been wet, and I'm just kind of like re-wetting it. And so we're just going to pour a little bit in here. Because let me tell you, what I have learned through the years, it is far easier to make soil blocks when the blocking mix is wetter than it is drier. If it's dry, you'll never get it to come out of the tool. So I'm not going to mix all of it in here. All right, so it's pretty juicy right here in the middle, and that's exactly how I like it. So I have my reusable tray right here, And now I need, sorry y'all, I kind of forgot to do that. And also, all right, so here is literally the soil blocking tool that Bobo uses all day long. So I have a little pile of mix, and I always make a nice pile because you need something to push your tool into, right? And I like to do it 2 times. Now, if you joined the live show this morning from the garden, all of those plants were soil blocked. And all of them, I'm just thinking what's out there, all of them were started in this small size block size. So we use flat bottom trays with no drainage holes. I just place the tool on the tray and give it a squeeze. And literally, we just made 20 soil blocks, right? And don't y'all want to see me sow Snapdragons? I gotta find, I thought I had a package of snap seeds. Stand by, y'all. Sorry. This is the 5th thing I've done today. And I've got some. Now I'm stealing Bobo's toothpick. All right. So first off, remember that on the seed packet, it always tells you when to start the seeds. Start seeds indoors 4 to 6 weeks before planting date. Do not cover seed with soil. Allow 3 to 7 days to germinate. All that information is right here on your seed packet. So you don't have to guess nor wonder. It is all, on our seed packets, it's always there. So I am going to pour some of these little snaps. Snap seeds are pretty tiny. They're a little bigger than pepper, but they're pretty small. And you don't want to pour a whole bunch in there because you want to be able to just touch your toothpick to the seed, and literally, y'all, it just hops on the end, and that's because there's no static electricity. I need to turn this around. Let me plant that one so that y'all have a better, closer look. Suzanne and I decided this morning we need like a crew of 5 people to help us with all this mess that we do. All right, so putting the seeds right there, I'm literally just touching. Literally, it hops onto the toothpick. Because snaps do not get covered, I am just firmly seeding the seed right on the top. I'm just making sure it's got good contact with the soil. And that's it, y'all. You literally just firmly seed it on the surface. And then let's talk about the rest of the process. All right. So the soil block maker kit that I just shared with you has everything you need in it to start soil blocking, right? That's actually just to make the block, start the seeds. And the rest of the story is even cool season seeds need warmth to know when they're supposed to sprout. And we do that by placing the trays on a seedling heat mat. And this seedling heat mat has a built-in thermostat, which is triggered from the air temperature. So most seeds germinate best 75 to 85 degrees. We're talking warm soil temperature, right? If your air temperature is 70 degrees, typically a mass of soil, just like a glass of water, is 15 to 20 degrees cooler than the air temperature. And that explains why most people can't get seeds to sprout. So we have a seedling heat mat which stays plugged in 24/7 as long as there's seed trays sitting on it. But what we do in the cool season weather is, or cool season seeds, the air temperature that I like to have in my seed starting area is 65 to 75 degrees air temperature, which then triggers your seedling heat mat, and I like to place a cookie cooling rack, literally the little racks that you put cookies on that have little legs about that tall. We just place that on top of the seedling heat mats, and that just cools it down just a smidgen. They still get warmth, and they get consistent warmth, and that's what makes them know when to wake up and sprout, right? So the seedling heat mat is $39.95, and snaps take about 3 to 7 days to sprout, and you can fit 4 of those trays on this seedling heat mat. And if you happen to need a bigger one, we have one over on our big website. Now remember those apple blossom snaps that I said, you know, it's like the top third because they fell over a bit. You really should use support netting on all of your Snapdragons, because the way that we grow them, they grow multiple stems. We'll get literally 10 to 15 stems off of one Snapdragon plant that's been planted in the fall and wintered over and hits the ground running. And what that means is, what happens is, that means you need to provide them support, because they're going to go through a lot of rainstorms. And that's what really just lays them down, is pounding rain, and particularly as they start to head up. So we use flower support netting, and I will warn you that in the spring bloom, like the chantilly's, I said it's just famously that I never get chantilly netted on time because she blooms so early you don't expect it. The Cool Flower Garden, our goal now is that if we have covers up, we take the covers down. For us, it's during the month of March. We start whole weeding and just making the garden beautiful before stuff really starts to grow. We have got to net right then and there. I mean, while we're looking at them and they're only this tall, because once it warms up, they just rocket up. I'm not kidding you. And that's the joy of them being, all the cool season hardy annuals, being well established from being planted when it was cool. So this is the flower support netting. This is plastic. It's got 6-inch squares. And you just suspend it above your flower bed, and you install it properly by looking at our video. It should be taut, not loose. There should be no excess hanging off. That needs to be cut off. And then your flowers just grow up through it, and it does an amazing job. So this comes in a 20-foot piece for $11.95, or a 50-foot piece for $21.95. But we have even longer pieces over on our big website if you need them. And you plant snaps. We put 4 rows in a bed, and they're 6 inches apart in the row, right? And the netting is going to be at the level in the garden. Let's just say you're going to count on your snaps getting 30 inches tall. That's a reasonable imagination. So that means the netting would be suspended at 15 inches. You really want to support flower stems at the hip. Just like how if somebody braced me on the hip and my legs are spread apart a little bit, I can withstand, you know, my crazy brother trying to tackle me. But if they tried to hold on to my shoulders or down lower on my legs, you just really don't get any benefit. Halfway to maturity mark is what that is all about. Now, we use, my shears. My shears, they're over there. So, today you would have seen these in action out in the garden. Y'all, I was cutting sylph. Look at this. These are some that I cut today. Look at this marigold. Look how tall that booger is. The shears that I use, they're actually bonsai shears. I don't want to take those out of the package. Mine are over here. They are small and lightweight. I used to use Felco number 2s for probably the first 10 years of flower farming. But then I started having wrist and elbow issues, and learned about these from a flower arranger. Totally love them. How do I keep using them for more? I gotta change sorry y'all, I never even brought the plant support netting up. I get to run in my mouth and forget that. So the plant support netting is now coming up. And you know, I'll tell you while we're looking at the plant support netting still, we use that as a planting grid. Bobo has a piece that we don't use out in the garden for plant support. She rolls it out on bed tops because the squares are 6 inches. It is perfect, and it helps you to plant in a straight row. She rolls it out, does her planting, rolls it back up, waters, and goes on about her business. It is really useful that way. So that is the plant support netting is now up. All right, so now let me change to where I need to be. So here is the shear, which I was just describing. These are bonsai shears. It comes with, it has a handle, a loop here that some people, I mean, people that don't use pouches probably might use that, but I just cut it off when I get it. Has a lock on it. Really love, we use these for multiple years because we don't lose them. And why don't we lose them? And it is because we use the pouch, y'all, and I just brought it up. So you can buy this stuff separately in the app. So I've just brought up the set. This is my pouch, which is about 20 years old. This is what it looks like new. A little different. But why do we love it? Because anybody can use a pouch. It has a clip instead of a loop, so you don't have to have a belt on. And when you have this on your hip, you never lay your clippers down. This is probably the most appreciated. I give my sister-in-laws new shears every couple of years. They're gardeners, and they'll lose them, or somebody, got kids in the house, they take them and use them for things they shouldn't. It was the most preferred gift that I've ever given to them, and my mother-in-law, and my mom loved hers. So the pouch and shear kit is a great gift, but you have to have it first, and then you can share it with people, right? All right, so what do we do to snaps as far as conditioning? So Snapdragons are ethylene sensitive. Did you know that? And so ethylene sensitivity comes from, for instance, if you're a flower farmer, if you've ever put snaps in the cooler, flower blooms give off ethylene gas. And if snaps at different rates, there's actually a book put out by the ASCFG, Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers, that tells you that on each individual flower. But some flowers put off more than others, and snaps are super sensitive to that. So if you ever put snaps in refrigeration and then when you take them out, they're like dropping buds, they just look funky, chances are it's ethylene sensitivity. So you want to be really cautious about that. You never, you never put flowers and food in the same cooler like in a refrigerator. Apples and all those fruit give off tons of ethylene gas. So you just never mix those two. Now, snaps are in the dirty dozen. They will dump debris into the water. So we definitely use the CVBN tablets. And the CVBN tablets are a pre-treatment. It's a chlorine treatment. And what that does is it keeps bacteria from growing in the water. And then you put one of these in a gallon of water that's in your bucket. That's what we do for all of our harvest buckets. As soon as the stem hits the water surface, it just dumps a bunch of ook. You don't really see it unless for some flowers. Like, have you ever seen how daffodils bleed all that mess? Well, all flowers actually do that, but they just don't do it as obvious as daffodils do. And instantly, bacteria starts growing the minute that mess gets in the water, unless you have CVB in there. And that delays that process and helps to slow that down. And that gives fresh, bacteria-free water to get up those stems for the first drink. And that little extra step will buy you a couple more days of vase life. That's what's so great about it. So the CVBN tablet comes in an 80 tablet bottle, or if you're a grower, 800 tablets. And so the big one is $71.95. This is $18.95, or you can get two of these for $29.95. We put CVBN tablet in every harvest bucket. It does not harm any flower. Not every single flower. There's probably 10% of the flowers that I grow that it really don't need it, but we put it in all the buckets because we don't know who you are, and you might have a mixed bucket, right? So we use the heck out of those. And then what do you follow up with on snaps? So in snaps, you harvest bucket them into that, and then we always send home with our customers, the end user, whether it's on a bouquet that would be rubber banded, that would have this food tucked under it, or when we had our members only market here on the farm, there was a basket that sat next to the door, and the ladies would come in and either make their own bouquets or buy a pre-made. Then they stop and get their flower food. This continues to kill bacteria. It provides nutrition, and it has a pH balancer in it, which keeps the water in such a state that the stem can draw it up the stem. And so this is, you can get, there's two sizes. This is the quart size, the big size. You can get a 50 pack for $11.95 or a 100 pack for $19.95. Then there's a half size to this. If you're doing small vases, the pint size is a 100 pack, and that's $12.95. This is one of those things you just always want to have it in your drawer to have on hand. Garden flowers need food more than the retail flowers do because they have never been out of water. They drink a ton. It just helps to keep the foliage green. It'll keep those buds on the snaps developing and blooming. So Snapdragons are pretty amazing, and you want to keep them looking gorgeous in your garden. You know, if you watch the replay or if you saw it this morning, there were so many bumblebees in my garden. They love Snapdragons. And the thing about harvesting on time, we harvest Snapdragons when the very first bottom bloom opens, because if a bumblebee climbs into one of the florets and pollinates it, that one falls off prematurely. So the race is to get them harvested before the first one actually opens for a bumblebee to be able to get inside it. It's not a really big deal, but that's the point. We have plenty of other flowers for bumblebees, trust me. But that's just a little tip, and they absolutely love Snapdragons. So I will be answering a couple of viewer questions at the end when I'm going to wrap up now. So I will be answering those at the very end. And if you have a question, you can put @Lisa and type your question, and I will try to answer some of those. And I just want to remind everybody that we have a big website called thegardenersworkshop.com. And it is full of information and resources. You'll find videos, our blog. You can connect with our 2 podcasts, Field and Garden and Seed Talk. And we have actually, if you want to write this down or get your phone out, or you're on your phone, you can't do that, right? Here are some podcasts that are specifically about Snapdragons. And the Field and Garden episode 211 is when Dave Dowling, who is the king of cut flowers, and I talked about Snapdragons. You're going to learn a lot when you listen to that. So that's episode 211. Also, episode 98 is about Snapdragons. And in Seed Talk, there's even more of them. So in Seed Talk, it's episode 130, episode 36, episode 53, episode 82, and episode 64. Because there are just so many pieces to this pie, y'all, of different things to do and different ways to do it and depth of knowledge. So I would recommend that you check those podcasts out. You can find them on our website or on your favorite podcast listening app. So the Cut Flower Handbook, I'm supposed to bring it up, right? Has like 5 pages on Snapdragons, y'all. So this actually features 66 different flowers, and I'm sure she probably marked, maybe not, what page? 5 pages on snaps. I could probably find them pretty quickly. Because she had it marked. Y'all, I'm such a dingling sometimes. I can't see the forest can't see the tree for the forest, which is that. So here's the beginning of Snapdragons in the book. There is some that are newly planted. That's before they're getting ready to go into winter. And then there's showing stages to harvest, lots of information. There's some of the dragons up there. There's all the growing facts. And then back here, this is the stage to harvest. See how the bottom is swollen and just starting to open? So the Cut Flower Handbook has everything you need and including Snapdragons. And so it's really covers the cut flower concept of how cutting garden works, the basics of growing cut flowers. It's $30, and when you purchase it through the Gardener's Workshop, we also send you the link to download the PDF of the flowers that wouldn't fit in the book, y'all. And if you print it at 85%, it fits perfectly into your book, right? And this has got 6 flowers on it, and 5 of them are cool, y'all. So you really get, the book has 66 flowers, 41 of them are cool, 25 warm. Actually, with this, you get 46 cool flowers, and that is just pretty awesome. So remember, before I do our Q&A, reminding you this Friday, 12 noon Eastern time, is the big show. That's where we show all the harvest, and I'm pretty impressed. Y'all, this is last week's harvest that is sitting up here just looking as gorgeous as the day is long. Conditioning, harvesting stage, and conditions outside. It's amazing. So remember, Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock, and turn your notifications on, because we have another pop-up up our sleeve that's going to be happening. And the only way you're going to know when it happens, I have to have the right people here, the good weather, and the light in the right place. So I can't tell you when it'll be because I don't really know. So turn your notifications on. Now stick around for the live Q&A. And let's see what you guys have going on in here. Well, I'm not sure I can answer them all, but, oh, Denise, loved your show from the garden. Oh, good. So Karen says, I'm in zone 9B and it's going to be in the 90s, so I have to wait to plant my seedlings. Karen, it's really about when your first frost is expected, and then you count back from there. If you don't have the Cool Flower book or the Cut Flower Handbook, I would definitely recommend you get one of those. The Cool Flowers really covers just the basic concept. It's really not about what the temperatures are outside, although when it's hot, you still need to, and if you're in 9B, you shouldn't be planting Cool Flowers for some time. So I'm not sure if you're talking about Cool Flowers. But also I showed on that live show from the garden this morning, a sun cap, which we use to cool down the plantings, which could maybe help you. All right, so I'm looking, oh snap, love that, Paula. Got my book today. Oh, good, Janet. Have lots of sunflowers on here. You know, Madam Butterfly, Wanda, is real. I love it because it's just so voluptuous looking, right? Lisa, my snaps start to open. I cut them when the bottom few buds have opened, but the rest of the boys on the top of the stem don't continue to open. They just die in the vase with unopened buds. So I would be interested to know what your conditioning process, you need to follow that conditioning process. And that is a classic ethylene symptom. Whether you're sitting it on a table near a bowl of fruit, literally, but cigarettes, if anybody smokes, all of that stuff can actually affect it. But they die in the vase with unopened buds. It's that, or they just drop the buds even when they're premature. So seed, I would just review in the Cut Flower Handbook. Y'all, I have done it again. Let me bring up this over here. Oh. All right, let me find it. This would be easier to read than reading it on my phone. All right. I'm not sure which way I'm coming. Oh, so Carissa says she's starting her snaps out in Oregon. Zone 6, Missouri, heading into the weekend in the 90s. I'm scared to plant my transplants. We have really been faced with that kind of fall won't stop, and even summer, right? And that's why I use the sun cap using the insect netting. That really cools the bed down. We've got cool season annuals out there. We're trying to get them to bloom this fall. And so we're keeping it installed out there in the garden until they start touching it, and then I'll take it off. But that really goes a long way to shade and not trap so much heat as a row cover used in that same way would. Oh, thanks for that. All right, so now I'm getting to where I was. Lisa, my snaps are about 2 weeks old, but the seedling is holding onto the seed. I miss them and have them on an oscillating fan. I have never used a fan for my seedling room. That could be drying them out. What can I do, or am I just impatient? Thanks, boss lady. So Kim, that's just, we call that helmet head. I don't know if that's an official name or not. Some varieties are definitely worse than others. But it's really before you actually see the seeds cracking is when you really need to be misting them. That's the stage where you want them to be really moistened. So as the embryo pops, the shell just kind of breaks free. And I would say I'm not a fan of fans. It just dehydrates more stuff than it actually helps. So I would try without a fan. My grow room is a 10 by 10 room that the door is closed most of the time. It has no kind of air circulation in there, and I don't turn any fan on. You know, it hasn't actually. We installed a very pricey exhaust fan when this building was built, and we never turn it on. I've just not found it necessary. All right, Lisa, if I plant snaps this fall, will the spring blooming plants also bloom in the fall, or should I plant additional? So first off, that reminds me of something I was going to tell you about. Don't get all caught up in the groups. We plant all the groups of all the snaps at the same time, either in the fall, if that's your planting time, or in very early spring. They figure out when they're supposed to bloom, because that's triggered by day length. But here's a tip. I would not plant groups 1 and 2 if in very early spring, which for me would be mid-February, because did you hear me mention earlier that Chantilly actually blooms here late March, early April? If I plant them in mid-February, they're going to be blooming on stems this long. If you live in a cooler region that don't have the heat and humidity that comes in, you might be able to do it. But my recommendation is to plant groups 3 and 4 in very early spring. But you plant when you're supposed to plant and just pick the groups that you want, and they just bloom at their own sequence. And I didn't even know about that for the first 15 years. I just planted. And then I just had snaps from late March up through late June. You know, so they figure that out for themselves. We don't have to. All right. So, Laurie, to answer your question, yes, you would need to replant. The snaps are not going to go through the heat of summer and come out shining. Plus, if they bloom in the spring from when you plant them to bloom in the spring, whenever you're planting time, you're planting in the fall, which is perfect. They're going to bloom the following spring. And, you know, when we pull out our plants, when they're done, the plants don't look so bad. But what happens as it heats up, they start producing shorter and shorter and shorter stems and punier flowers. So we just pull them out. So don't be tricked by that. And it's just far healthier and probably better quality stems if you just plan to restart in summer to plant at late summer for fall blooms. All right. Lisa, any ideas why I have such poor Snapdragon germination? I use a heat mat under a cookie sheet, don't cover them, still poor germination. You know, Laura, you just need to keep tweaking your environment. I will tell you that it's, and celosia is the same way. People just struggle. And if you have a really dry environment, you know, we put, you don't say here, we use the wide weave burlap, which I don't have any right here to show you. It's here in the app. It's big hole burlap that we lay on our soil blocks, on the seedling heat mat to trap some moisture, but it allows air circulation and does a great job. But it's either moisture or air temperature. That is the issue. So you just need to kind of, and I know it's hard, you just got to be deliberate about, like, all right, I'm going to use burlap and let's see what that does. And then if that doesn't work, then change the air temperature or some, but I was not an overnight success on all of my seeds. I hit it out of the park. That first time I ever started snaps and soul blocks 100 years ago, they were started out on a closed-in porch. I used a seedling heat mat, but it was pretty cool out there, more like 60 to 65, and that's when I had such great success. So don't be discouraged, but I would definitely try covering them with wide weave burlap. Those seeds are so tiny, how do you know if it's on the block? When the soil gets on the toothpick, it's hard to know if the seed came off. So for me, if your soil block soil is moist enough, because you just made them, I don't make blocks and sit on them and then sow them later. When you have really moist blocking mix and you make your blocks and you immediately sow the seeds, you shouldn't be getting a lot of soil on your toothpick. And I am touching the seed to the soil block and then kind of wiping to the side just a little bit to get it to release. And that too just takes experience, but yeah, I would say a wetter soil block makes that definitely easier. Lisa, please do a quick review of the snap groups again. So 3 and 4 are winter and 1 and 2 are warm. No, they're all cool season. Why you may be thinking that, Amanda, is that some catalogs talk about that they're greenhouse snaps. They'll grow in greenhouses. And that's more about, it's not really about winter. The winter they're talking about is short days. So groups 1 and 2 will bloom during short days, and group 3 and 4 bloom in longer days, which means summer days, right? And so you plant them all at the same time, and then they'll bloom out. So that's why we made the dragon mixes, because it has all the groups in it. So you have continuous blooms, right? Or you can pick them out. But for years, I just grew the snaps that I loved and wanted. And they bloom on their timetable of day length. That marigold was a cheddar mix, and that is here in the app. Oh, so Robin just got her CVB in. Onions give off gas. All vegetables give off gas. Other flowers can give off gas. And as I mentioned, cigarette smoking, all that, anything that, and it's more than we think. How and when do you fertilize these plants once planted outdoors, and what fertilizer do you use? So, Gail, we water our seedlings every morning, and on Monday mornings, I put the Neptune's Harvest liquid seaweed fish, which is here in the app, into my gallon water can, 1 tablespoon. So that's how my seedlings get fed every week. All of our beds are prepared with the dry fertilizer that you'll find here in the app. If you just search fertilizer in the app, it'll come up, and there's bigger sizes available over on our website. Whenever our beds are prepared, that's what's put in it, and that's pretty much all they get. But I have pretty fertile soil. You can apply the fertilizers. Both of those are usable out in the garden according to directions, and both of them have directions to do that. Oh, Christina, thank you. My book got an award, and so Christine must have heard about that. Did anyone get all those episodes numbers put in the chat? Let's see. How can I do that? Stand by. Turning this off. All right, so the podcast episodes, I'm just going to put it in here. Seed Talk is 130, 36, 53, 82, and 64. Field and Garden, the one with Dave is really good. Field and Garden is 211 with Dave, and then just 98. All right, I'm posting it. It's coming to you in the chat, so grab it. All right, so that was a good question. does the Cut Flower Handbook have the Cool Flower book info? It's different, Brandy. The Cool Flower book is like the introduction to the Cool Flower concept, because I will tell you, after teaching this for 20 years, people have a really hard time wrapping their head around doing it. I mean, and so the Cool Flower Handbook, or the Cool Flower book is like the baby step. That's the first one, where it has the concept and it tells you it's got 30 flowers in it, I think. The Cut Flower Handbook, so Cool Flowers is elementary school, and then the Cut Flower Handbook is really high school work, because not only does it have more Cool Flower information, but it also incorporates warm season and how you lace them together to become a 3-season cutting garden. So there's definitely benefit in having both of them. But the Cut Flower Handbook, for somebody that hasn't really been aware of the concept, will be overwhelmed because you just don't have basic information, right? All right. I love the book. I refer to it most days in the last 6 weeks. Aw. Oh yeah, somebody did. Does Rudbeckia really need the moist part of stratification? We don't do any stratification. All of the varieties of the flowers that are in the book, in our stores, don't require any priming or stratification. They aren't like biennials. They're true cool season hardy annuals that literally don't need that. We do recommend storing cool season hardy annuals in the freezer just for stronger. It improves germination, and it's more about them being cold and waking up the embryo. You take them out of the freezer and then you plant them and put them on a seedling heat mat, and there is a clear division. They understand what's being messaged to them, but they don't require stratification. All right, I love that you can row cover or sun cap if you miss the dates. Yep. All right, any tips? Valerie says, any tips on permits, zoning for starting a small cut flower farm? Can you sell from residential land? Valerie, I have a course called Flower Farm in School Online, the basics, and that is exactly the first session. The first class, which is like 4 hours of sessions, is about starting the business. And then the rest of it is about the rest of the story, and that would be helpful to you. You can find that at thegardenersworkshop.com. Lisa, when do you discontinue to fertilize before winter? As I mentioned, we really only fertilize in the tray, and then we prep the garden. Occasionally, I might do foliar feeding out in the garden, but we frequently don't get to it. So we don't really, as a regular practice, fertilize out in the garden beyond the beds being prepped with the dry organic fertilizer. So friends, we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks for joining me tonight. Remember to get on that wait list for the calendar, because the thing is that we only have, it's not that we have limited calendars, we have limited seating on the platform that we use for the workshops. And so anyway, you want to get on the top of the list, and you want to jump on the pre-sale when it opens for that very reason, because I really want to help everybody fill out their calendar the first time. All right, my friends, until we meet again.